Mr. Speaker, there is no member who would rise on the floor of this House to support atrocities by any uniformed officer against our citizens. And in fact, we are not here to say whether the Kenya Army or the Kenya Defense Forces have done right or done wrong, because it is not in our place to judge them. And we understand, Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker. And so we must know.
Kumewaka moto. Hapa kuna clip ya MPs and they're reacting to how the BBC documentary went and their views. Remember to like, share, comment na pia kusubscribe hapo chini.
The training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and perpetuate a history of extractive economy, oppressive economy, and exploitative economy in a very unfair trade balance between Kenya and the UK. Mr. Speaker, even as we debate this matter, it is not lost to us that yes, there were unfavorable events that took place in the time and the lead up to the finance bill. But Mr. Speaker, that is not what we are debating. We would like to know for a fact whether what BBC is hearing is connected to the riders that this House put on the training of the British Army training units in Kenya, where we were requiring that any officer of the British Army, if they are found here in Kenya to have killed, to have maimed, to have raped, they should be tried here in the mother soil, as it would happen even for a Kenyan if they were found on, guilty of a criminal.
On the same, Millie? Yes, Millie?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank Honorable Kwenye for urging that we speak soberly about this issue. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to speak soberly about this issue. And sometimes when you're in leadership, you have to take the road less traveled. And on this issue, I want to take the path less traveled. Mr. Speaker, we lost many young people. And we have very many young people who are traumatized as a consequence of what happened. Mr. Speaker, it is a point in our country that all of us wish never happened. But it happened. Mr. Speaker, I think we have not handled this issue well. And that is why sometimes you find people from outside are coming to document this. If as Kenya, we were able to acknowledge that things went wrong and we need to fix it, then Mr. Speaker, even if BBC heard it, it doesn't matter. We have to fix our own problems on our own. We don't have to wait for BBC to tell us there was something wrong. I have a problem with the title that they've given, but which is typical of any media house, because they want it to trend and then want it to, yeah. And because of that, Mr. Speaker, they may have given it that title. But Mr. Speaker, we have not yet dealt with some of the issues. We have dealt with some, but one of the issues we have not dealt with is the trauma. Mr. Speaker, I said it when Honorable Elachi lost the son. Mr. Speaker, we have a very angry young generation in this country. And part of the anger is on the issues that we are seeing, Mr. Speaker. And we cannot bury our heads in the sand, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let Parliament take the lead. And let us find a way of helping these young people to heal. Because, Mr. Speaker, we don't know what may come in the next few months, next year, or whatever. And furthered by the fact that we have very many young people who are jobless, who are frustrated. And if these people, I don't know what their intention is. Their intention could be fuel more harm and whatever. I don't know what their intention is. But from the young people that have spoken, it has actually created more anger. We are taking them back to the path that they would rather not walk again. But they are walking it. And we don't know at what point somebody else will fuel it again. You can't stop the media. Somebody else will fuel that anger again. And so for us to deal with it, let this Parliament take that mandate to deal. When we had post-election violence, Mr. Speaker, I was lucky to be in this parliament, I think, where we do in that parliament. Mr. Speaker, we set up a select committee. We walked all over this country. And because as human beings, we have a nature to forget. When we thought we had moved on, I remember in one case, we met a woman whose husband's head had been decapitated. She went to her home with the husband's head. And we were dealing with people who are angry, people who are depressed. And going there, Mr. Speaker, I remember to date when I was speaking in Parliament, I broke down and cried. Not because of me, but because of what we had. And we think we are moving on, but there are many young people who have not necessarily moved on. Mr. Speaker, personally, I would appeal, and I don't want to sit in that committee, but I would appeal that we set up a select committee to deal with this issue that stemmed not necessarily the finance bill, but the after effect of that finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I humbly agree that we deal with this soberly, and I'd want to discourage us from going through a process which we think may be politically correct, but does not necessarily move us forward as a country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It has come at this time, a time that we have really moved on. We spoke about that issue in this House, discussed it, sympathized, mourned our fellow Kenyans who passed on during that day. However, it has come at this time again. As much as we agree that our fellow Kenyans lost their lives, unfortunately, but we also moved on to ensure that we reconcile the country as we move on. BBC World Service has attended to this matter in a way that also looked at the Kenyan society or African society as something that discriminatory, sort of, if I may say so. Honorable Speaker, it looked like our media stations also picked it up without questioning how BBC World Service aired the story. It happens world over. People are killed, our people are killed, we sympathize, we moved on. Even world over. Remember, there was the same issue or similar in Capitol Hill. BBC World Service never took the opportunity to say something. It happened in London, they never said it. It happened in many Western nations, they never said it. Above all, there's the killing of women and children in Gaza, and BBC World Service never speak about it. Unfortunately, where 50,000 have been killed so far, especially women and children by a country. They never cover those things. So I think the timing of that report, and it comes at a time when IPOA and other investigative agencies are doing an investigation, and they never shared that with them. Let us not subjugate or discriminate against our own agencies.